Hey guys, Alf here. It's after the presentation of the Switch, so I'm gonna break it down, give you info, and tell you how I feel about all the new information we've learned. So Thursday night we got the presentation of the Switch. I took a couple days to digest all the information. There's a lot of talk about it on the internet. Pre-orders went up. People bought them like crazy. I don't think they're sold out yet, but I think it's pretty close. They have two models. They revealed that they're both basically the same. It's just the Joy-Cons are different colors. They have a neon one that's one Joy-Con is neon blue and one is neon red, and then the other one's just all gray. I got my pre-order. I got the neon ones. I usually get standard consoles, but I decided to change it up this time. Lots of talk on the internet. People loving it, people hating it, all types of different stuff. But let's get into what the presentation had to say. They revealed the release date, which is going to be March 3rd, which is earlier than I thought. I was thinking more like middle March, but early March is pretty soon, so we don't have to wait too long for it, like a month and a half, which is great. And they released the price is $300 for the console. Now, some people think that's steep. I don't think so myself. People just think that it's steep for what the console does or what the tech in it is. But I think the tech in it is more advanced than I think it is. It's not as powerful as the other consoles, but this is also like an entire console that fits on your hand and is kind of close to the other consoles. I mean, it's more powerful than Nintendo's last console. It's more powerful than the last gen consoles, and it fits on your hand. Also, the Joy-Cons have really sophisticated technology in them. Basically, the one on the right has basically a Kinect in it, but it's like this small, so it's a tiny Kinect in a little controller, which is got to be some pretty high tech and expensive for them. It doesn't come with a game. That's kind of shitty, but I think $300 is fair. They 250 would have been better, but 300 isn't bad. It's fair. All the sources before it and leaks or whatever were saying 250 to 300 price range, so people should have expected this. I did. I thought it would be 250, but I was expecting the range to be between 250 and 300. They also shut off another feature of the Joy-Cons, which is kind of like they call it an HD rumble, but it's basically an advanced format of the rumble feature. They kind of showed it off like he was holding it up, and he kind of showed it off to be like you can feel like how many, like if it was a cup, you could feel how many ice cubes are in it. A lot of people probably think that's kind of useless, and it might be. Depends on how they utilize it. I know people who got to play the Switch at some events recently, and they told me that you can really tell the difference. That the rumble is something new and different. And it is something significant. Whether they make use of it enough or not, we'll never know. I hear the controllers are really comfortable. I know you could, like I've mentioned in the other video, you can separate the Joy-Cons, and they're like this little, and each one can be used as its own individual controller. They have 4 buttons, an analog stick, and top buttons. I'm not sure if it was 2 or 4 top buttons, but it's essentially it's a whole controller, just really small, which a lot of people were worried about, saying like, oh, we have big hands. But people I know who played it that have big hands say that it's surprisingly comfortable and very effective. And hey, when you have one controller and don't want to buy another one and someone comes over, it's better than not having 2 controllers, right? It's you just separate them and go, here, use this one, I'll use this one. And even if it's slightly uncomfortable, you still got 2 controllers without having to buy a whole other one. They also released an extra Pro controller. Now, some of the issues seem to be that some of the accessories are really high priced. I personally think they're high priced. I think an extra dock is like $90, and the dock doesn't really do much except display the Switch on your TV. So paying $90 just to have another dock for another TV is kind of useless to me. I would rather just take the dock from one room with the Switch and put it in another room. It'd be that simple. don't need to pay $90 just so I don't have to carry a dock from one room to another. Um, the Joy Cons are kind of expensive too. I think they're like was it $50 separately and $80 together. Cheaper to buy it together, I guess. But they are kind of sophisticated, so it's understandable, but still kind of pricey. I mean, who wants to spend $50 for another little thing like this? Um, and then they have a pro controller that's more like the regular video game controllers, like an Xbox controller, and that's I think $70, I think, which seems pricey, but also like extra like PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers are like 65 bucks, so it's not that much more. I'm not sure what extra features the Pro controller has, if it has that HD rumble in that as well. Don't know. Also, the little connect feed, the little IR reader thing on the right joypad that acts as like a little connect. You can use it and it can sense how you move your hand, and certain motions you make. It can sense all that stuff. But it can also be used to point at the screen when you have your Switch docked, so that when you don't have touchscreen and it's docked, you can use that for the screen instead, which is pretty cool. So all in all, the system itself is pretty cool. I don't see an issue with it. I think it's something like off the dock when you're playing handheld. It's like 720p. Not sure about the frames per second, probably 30, but maybe some games will run on 60. Depends on the power of the game. They said the battery lasts 2.5 to 6 hours, depending on the game. A big game like Legend of Zelda, they said lasts 3 hours, which I think is decent. You don't really like. Well, I guess I don't play outside much, but I mean, more than 3 hours, I'm not gonna really end up doing that. Also, like some games last longer, so if you're playing a smaller game that's like maybe multiplayer with your friends somewhere outside, it can even last up to 6 hours. So I think the battery life is pretty decent, and it's probably the best you can get right now on the market to play what the Nintendo Switch is playing. They also showed different ways to play, which I think we already knew. You could dock it, play it on your TV with the Joy-Cons either separate or together with the little grip feature. You can pull the Switch out, flip the little thing in the back, the little stand, so you can stand it up on the table and play it like that. Split it with a friend and you guys, both play. Or you could put the Joy-Cons on the side of the Switch, pick it up and play it like that, like a handheld system. The system itself is really small. The screen is like the size of the Wii U, but the rest of it is extremely compact and sleek compared to the Wii U. Way sleeker, thin, probably like this thin, and not much wider than pretty much just the screen in width, maybe a little tiny bit more than the screen, and like this flat, and then you can add the controllers. So it's really convenient. You could probably fit it in your back pocket and carry it around with you. The games are tiny. They're probably like your thumbnail and the thinness too. They're like this small, so you can carry a lot of them. Storage capacity 32 gigs, which again, a lot of people complaining about that, but if you buy physical games, you should have no problem, because unlike the other systems, you don't have to pre-install the game. So all you're having is save files on the system, and save files are tiny, a few kilobytes. It'll take you forever to fill up 32 gigs with just save files. Of course, you're going to want some digital games, but if you keep the smaller games for the digital stuff and purchase physical copies of the bigger games, you should have no problem. But also it takes micro SD cards, SDXC cards, and it could take up to 128. But now they're starting to say, I've seen an article saying that it could take up to 2 terabyte mini SD cards. So that's pretty fantastic. I guess if you do want to buy digital, you can basically store a lot on there. But I myself like physical copies. You can see back there, I have tons of Wii U cases back there, and I have even more than that from past consoles. But yeah, I'm looking forward to building my physical Wii U collection. Also, the right Joy-Con is also has an Amiibo reader in it. So the Amiibo reader now is on top of the right Joy-Con's analog stick. So you tap it right on top of the analog stick, and it'll read your Amiibo. The analog sticks also push in. You got 4 buttons on top, 4 buttons on the right Joy-Con analog stick at the bottom. Left, you have the left analog stick on top, 4 buttons at the bottom. But those 4 buttons are like directional. But if you're big on like the D-pad, I don't think it'll be that useful. I've heard it's not very good for certain game for like fighting games and stuff. If you're like an old school fighting game person, like me, I usually like to use a D-pad for fighting games. So that might be an issue and might be a reason to get a pro controller. But even though I don't think I'm going to get a pro controller for a long time, I mean, the Joy-Con grip combo is pretty much a regular pro controller. And it's pretty small. It's like a small square like this big. I'm cool with that. I have no issues with that. So now this is big news. And there's huge complaints about it. Some people like it and are not praising it. And then some people are in the middle. I'm kind of in the middle on this. And I'm going to tell you what it is and why. Nintendo will now start charging for online play. Now, the other companies already do this. PlayStation was free when it was PS3. Then PS4 came around, they started charging. Xbox has always charged. But Nintendo has always been free. It was always one thing that people are always like, oh, I like Nintendo because they don't charge for their online service. Well, they do now. And a lot of people are hating on this. But people always complained about Nintendo's online service. They always said it was the worst. They always said there's tons of lag. I didn't have much problems with it with the Wii U, except for Smash. Smash Brothers had a lot of lag, especially when you had like more than 2 people playing at the same time. It would start lagging a lot. Mario Kart, Splatoon, Call of Duty all play well for me. I don't have an issue with any of those. But a lot of people did complain about it. I guess they took that criticism and said, hey, we need to do something about this. People are saying we have the worst online service. Let's do something. So this is where it kind of makes sense and why I'm in the middle. They worked with DNA, a third-party company, to rework their entire network. So I think it'll be a whole lot better now. They probably had to pay that company. They probably have to pay for the more powerful servers and whatever, anything to make the service better. They probably got to pay for all that, so they're going to charge. It is free until the fall, so we'll get to see how good the online is, if we like it. Maybe that'll be like a test period for them too, so if it's not good enough, we can give them feedback and they'll adjust and make it better before you start paying. But yeah, they're going to start charging in the fall. They haven't said how much it's going to be, so it could be cheaper than the other companies. It could be the same. You do get some benefits of it, but these have pros and cons too. Like the other systems, when you pay for their online, they give you free games, and you get to keep those games as long as you have that service. Nintendo's not doing that. They're giving you kind of like free rentals, NES and SNES games a month. I'm not sure if it's one of each a month or just one a month, but at the end of the month, you don't have the game anymore. It's like a month-long rental. You play it for a month, it's done, you move on to the next game for the next month. The one really cool thing about it is the Super Nintendo games you're now able to play online, which is really cool because the last time I was able to play Super Nintendo games online was with the X Band in the middle 90s. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember the mid 90s, and they had this thing called X Band that was like a big cartridge you put in your SNES, and then you put the SNES cartridge on top of that, and then that big X Band cartridge had a little phone jack that you hook up, and then you had broadband gameplay. But it sucked. It was so expensive. I couldn't have it for long because my mom was like, what? After the first bill, my mom was like, what? I'm not going to keep paying for this. And it was so bad, like broadband, over the telephone. I would play Mario Kart and it'd be like, doot, 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 and it was just terrible. You couldn't really play on that. So a lot of people are complaining about that. They're not liking that it's online. The other thing they said was that there's an app now. They weren't very specific about this, so I'm not sure how it's going. But they said that there's going to be a smartphone app that you use to contact your friends, to voice chat, to send invitations and stuff like that, manage your friends and all that kind of stuff. But they weren't specific if that app will also be on the Switch. So could you do that with just the Switch as well, or is that just specifically for the smartphone and you can only use it on the smartphone? Be kind of shitty if you can only use it on the smartphone. I can understand the idea because maybe they want to keep children out of voice chat. But I mean, kids have phones now anyway, and if they really want to, they probably ask their parents, and their parents would be like, "Yeah, here, use my phone and use voice chat." But in the end, I guess it would kind of help keep kids off. But I think it should also be on the Switch too. You should be able to do all that stuff within the system itself. But yeah, that's basically it. You're gonna have to start paying for online now. As long as they really do improve the online networks, then I think it's okay. And I would prefer not to pay to play online like I have been, but I'm not against it either. It makes sense to me if they're going to rework their network, especially with a third party, and make everything better. Then yeah, I'm willing to pay for it. Hopefully, they're keeping it cheap since they're not really giving you free games. They're giving you like rentals. So if it was like half the price of the other companies, then that'll be fantastic. So now I'm going to move on to the games. They showed off a lot of cool games. I got really excited. Well, before I go into the games, I'm going to talk a little bit about the presentation. It was on and off. They had some really good moments, and then they had some really like weird moments, some real slowdowns and stuff that you're like, why did they focus so much on that? That's weird. The translator for the US version was horrible. He was like, and like really monotone and dull and really brought down the whole thing. I think everybody who watched that made comments about him. I was watching it and like messaging with some friends and being like, what's wrong with this translator? He's gonna get fired. He's terrible. Maybe he was just nervous, or maybe like the sound from what he was hearing wasn't right and it made it difficult for him to translate it right or to be quick with it. He was just really slow and dull. But yeah, they should have had Bill Trinan do it because he's great at translating Japanese both ways. But I guess he's too high up an employee to do that. So then we move on to the first game they showed. Was called 1-2 Switch. This isn't a game I think is gonna sell a lot. It really seems more like a pack-in game, kind of like like they did with Wii Sports and Nintendo Land. It's kind of like a game that's really made up of mini games that are just made to show off what the system can do, and not even the system. This game's really just to show off what the Joy-Cons can do. It's a lot of like little motion stuff or sensor things or rumble. It's just a lot of little mini games. And you don't even need the screen. That was one of the things they were pointing at. They're games where they're all two players and you stare at your opponent and play the games like that. You don't look at the screen. The screen just makes noise and tells you ready, set, go, and you do what you got to do. And they have little games in there like there's a samurai game, and one of you swings and the other person has to get the Joy-Con to catch the sword, and you got to time it right. There's a cowboy gun showdown game where you got to shoot each other quick enough. There's one like eating game where you point the sensor in your mouth and you go nom 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 and try to eat as much as you can. What else was there's one where you milk the cow. You got to get more cups of milk or whatever. There was a ping pong one. But basically, you get the idea. That's what it is. They're quick little mini games. They kind of show off what the Joy-Con can do. Really seems like this should have been a pack-in title. It's not. Right now on websites, it looks like it's going for $50. Really not a game worth $50. I mean, this is a game I would get possibly if it was like $20. Real iffy at 30, but 20 maybe. I would consider it. If it was a pack-in title, it would have been perfect. But I I don't see too many people hyped for it. Most people are making fun of it. There's a few people saying they're gonna get it. The one plus I think that it would be good for is like drunken parties. Those kind of games are always good when you and your friends are drunk and you're just laughing at each other, having fun. Not a game I'm gonna get though, and unless I see it used or it goes down in price because nobody bought it to like $20, 15, 20. Then the next game they showed off was a whole new IP. It's a game called Arms. I think it looks fun. I'll explain what it is. It's kind of like a fighting game, but you play from a distance. The screen is from behind your back, and the characters have extending arms. They go real far to the other side of the arena. You guys, your opponent's on the other side of the arena, and you swing your arm, and it goes, and you hit each other. At first, it looked real simple, and I was like, this is not a very content-full game. You play with the Joy-Cons, another motion game, which I know people hate. I don't mind them. This game actually looks good for motion controls. It looks like it probably be boring to play without it, and it looks a lot of fun to play with motion controls. But they just kind of showed a trailer for it. They didn't really show too much in the presentation. The next day at the Treehouse, they showed it a lot. They had a whole tech demo for it, and there's like 5 characters they showed off. Each character has like 3 weapons that they can set up for each arm. And there's all these strategies, you move to the side, dodge, try to punch each other with different types of punches. And it actually does look fun. I'm probably not explaining it right. But even after the Treehouse, I was like, man, it just doesn't look like a $60 game. It's like 5 characters. I figured there would be more arenas, but they were only showing 1. But I thought the 5 characters was all there was. And I thought like, oh, this game has hardly any content, not worth $60. But I had an inside source who played these games, and they told me they asked, and the employees told them that there is a lot more content coming, that we're going to find out more about this game later. There's way more characters, a lot of arenas, more weapons. There's just a lot more content. So the game looks fun. I probably would have paid $40 for it. But if there is more content and we find out more about it later, I'll reserve my thoughts on it till then and see how much I think it's worth then. It does look fun, so I might pay the $60 for it if there's enough to do in the game. The next game was a big one for me. I thought this whole time that Splatoon on the Switch was going to be a port of the first game with added stuff. But we got the big surprise. It's Splatoon 2, the sequel. So, this is a whole new game. Still looks similar, but I mean, like, shooter sequels are always similar to the ones before with, like, a lot more new stuff. But the graphics look better to me. Not sure if they are. I know the first Splatoon was 720p. This looks 1080p to me. I could be wrong. Maybe it's in between. I don't know. It's hard to do it justice through video. You actually have to see it. But whole new weapons. The one they showed, which was the big thing they wanted to show off, was an akimbo pistols. So you had dual wield pistols. Looked really cool. Kept running around. But a special thing for using these is that you get like a side dash, which is going to be evil in the game. People are going to hate each other over this. It's going to be so hard to hit people when they're like moving out the way. Oh my god, it's going to get insane. Splatoon already gets insane. This is going to get even more insane. I know it takes place 2 years later. The presentation was cool. Like, the guy came out in a lab coat and he was taking it as if this was real. And he was like, it's been 2 years since I discovered the Inklings and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it takes place 2 years later. They showed a pretty quick clip of the game, but we saw all new stages, all new gear, different hairdos, different specials. Some of the specials cool. There was this one like rocket that's like shoots rockets into air and it rains down like exploding paint bombs. I don't remember too many more of it. I'll probably have it up here somewhere in a clip or over here so you can see it. But yeah, it looks really good, man. I can't wait for it. It's super excited. It comes out this summer. I guess it's gonna be free online till the fall, so enjoy that. There's gonna be a whole new line of DLC, of free DLC, like they did with the Wii U. But yeah, it's a sequel, man. New game mechanics, all new maps, new weapons, new gear, new types of gear, new specials. It's gonna be great. That's one I'm extremely excited for, and I can't wait for that. Another huge reveal, which looked beautiful, is the new Super Mario. It's called Super Mario Odyssey. It looks like a huge game. It looks kind of open world sandbox, kind of like uh, Sunshine and Galaxy, but even bigger. Um, the game looks so nice. The graphics are great. The major part they showed at the beginning was like in a city, and there's like people walking around, cars and traffic, and Mario's just like swinging off light posts, like Spider-Man, kind of like jumping all over the place, going up on top sides of skyscrapers. Um, he also can throw his hat now, and on top of throwing his hat, he could throw it and then jump on top of it to get even further. Um, at the end, it showed that the hat had eyes. I guess that it's like a living hat. Who knows? I don't know. Um, and the trailer kind of shows Bowser like in a suit, like he owns the city or something. Kind of remind me of Back to the Future 2, where Biff was like the man about town and ran casinos and stuff, and married Marty's mom. It's kind of like that, but he's with Peach, like he took Peach, and I guess she's gonna marry him or something. You gotta stop that. Who knows? But I think they said it takes place all over the world, and every like area is based on a different part of the world. I saw one that looked kind of like Mexico. They had a little dancing Mexican guy with maracas and a sombrero. Um, but this game looks amazing. It's just such a beautiful looking game. I think it's gonna do really well. They're saving it for holidays, which I think is super smart. That's gonna be the big holiday seller for everybody, for kids, for adults, for people who just love Mario in general. This is the first really big Mario game since the Super Galaxy series, so it's good to see it come back in a big way like this. So the next reveals were quick. They either showed like a short trailer, or it was just an announcement, or just a picture, but it was really quick. Um, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. They showed a short trailer for that. Looks great. Different art style from Xenoblade Chronicles X or the first Xenoblade Chronicles. Um, Very anime though, but very smooth looking. Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U was a huge game, super huge even for the Wii U. So they had to downgrade on graphics, and it looked kind of choppy. This game does not look choppy, but it's gonna be more like the first Xenoblade. So it's not gonna be like this huge like place like Xenoblade X, but it looks great. Can't wait for that one. They didn't reveal a date for it, but they said it's coming out this year. The next big announcement was Fire Emblem Warriors. Not a big fan of the Destiny Warriors style of gameplay, so I can't really say I'm excited about this. Neither am I a huge fan of Fire Emblem. I like them, but it's not games that I get super excited for. And even less if it's like Dynasty Warrior styles, like Hyrule Warriors. That was fun for like a week. I enjoyed it, but after a week, I just didn't feel the urge to play it again, because it's pretty much like similar play style over and over again. Yeah, you get different weapons and stuff and upgrades, but you're still doing the same things over and over again. I get bored of them really quick. If somebody like let me Fire Emblem Warriors, yeah, I'd play it probably. Oh, my dog is howling. Uh, but probably for like a week, get tired of it and then not play it anymore. So then they moved on to third-party games that they're getting. Square Enix revealed, which we kind of already knew, that we were getting Dragon Quest X and Dragon Quest XI. Really happy about that. I love Dragon Quest. I actually have these pins that I won on a Facebook group. They're pretty cool. It's kind of bright, so it's hard to see them. But here's a little slime guy. Very cool. I love the slimes. They're so good. Dragon Quest is really popular in Japan. They're kind of like Dragon Quest is kind of like Final Fantasy in terms of popularity, but Final Fantasy here is way more popular. But in Japan, Dragon Quest is way more popular. The characters are designed by Akira Toriyama, who created the Dragon Ball series. He's always done the character design for them. It's really cool. It always brings me back to like play those games and see his designs. And the games are just fun. I love traditional JRPGs more than I like Western RPGs. So I'm really excited about the Dragon Quest games. There's a new Shin Megami Tensei. Man, I can't even say it right. Shin Megami Tensei game coming out. I don't know too much about this series, so I can't really say much. But maybe I'll get into it now. Who knows? There's also a really cool, like old school, like Super Nintendo style role playing game coming out. Really like the way it looked. Kind of excited about it. It's old school JRPG Super Nintendo style. Like, how can you go wrong with that? It's called Project Octopath Traveler. Strange name, but done by Square Enix. Looks really cool. Probably going to be a lot of fun, and I'm probably going to get it right away. Bethesda came on and talked about Skyrim. I think that's coming out later in the year. But yeah, we're getting a definitive Skyrim. I know that game's been out for a long time. Like I just finished saying, I'm not a big Western RPG guy, so I never was a fan of Elder Scrolls. So I probably won't be getting it. But I've heard a lot of people say that they would love to play Skyrim again, but on the go. So for those people, it's probably worthwhile. And I kind of hope they do well so that we can get more games from Bethesda because they do have other games I enjoy. So then Suda51 came on stage. You might know him as the maker of the game No More Heroes, which was a really cool game. He came out with a lot of excitement, and the audience just didn't react at all. The translator sounded confused and didn't know what to say after that. He was like, and it just really killed the whole thing. It was terrible. But he didn't have much to show. He just kind of came out to say that Travis Touchdown from No More Heroes will be appearing on the Switch. He's making a new game. He doesn't have a title for it, he said, and I'm not sure if it's No More Heroes sequel or just another game altogether starring the same character. But kind of like to see how that would pan out. It's probably going to be a while if he didn't have anything to show, but I'd like to see where that's going. So after that, they didn't really show too many more games. At the end, they showed a new trailer for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and oh my god, does that trailer look amazing. Yeah, there's no way I can even possibly explain it to you. You just have to watch it and enjoy it. Put that shit on full screen, put up the volume. There's fucking voiceover work now. It's in Japanese, but it's fucking beautiful. I hope they actually keep the Japanese tracks in there because I'd rather have it be in Japanese with subtitles. But the American voiceovers would probably be fine, done well too. But it'd be nice to have both. I mean, that's a game I know I'm gonna beat over and over again, and I could do it with with both voiceovers and try them both ways. But man, this game has me excited. They revealed it is a launch title. March 3rd, it's coming out. There's a special edition with a bunch of stuff. There's a master edition special with extra stuff. Unfortunately for me, I pre-ordered the Switch, but I didn't have enough to get the special editions of the Breath of the Wild, so I'm waiting to see if those get freed up. Maybe there's going to be a restock and a couple more pre-orders. I really hope so. There's a lot of cool stuff that comes in it, and I'd like to get it. But if not, I'll be happy with the game at launch because it looks amazing. That's definitely like people are talking about the launch lineup being weak. I don't give a shit. I'm going to have Breath of the Wild, and that's going to be like a game I play exclusively for at least 2 months, maybe more. And then the next day, on the Treehouse, they showed other games, and they showed Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is a port of Mario Kart 8 with new characters, some new items, a couple of new stuff. It runs better too now. Now it's 1080p instead of being 720. I thought there'd be new courses, but I'm hearing now that there's not. I know they have a completely reworked battle mode because nobody liked the battle mode in the last one. So it's been completely reworked to be more fun. It looks a lot of cool. Uh, it's full price again, but it might be enough to entice me to buy it. So that comes out in late April. So it would definitely be enough time for me to go through Breath of the Wild and then move on to that. And then summer, I got Splatoon. It's just like an evolving thing. It's a huge lineup. We've never in Nintendo history, I think, we've had a year of huge games like this. We got Breath of the Wild, a new Super Mario, a new Splatoon, which just started being huge last generation. So a Mario Kart port, Xenoblade 2, five huge games this year from first party games. And I have sources telling me that that's not it. There's going to be more games revealed, more launch titles between now and like 3 or 4 weeks from now, close to launch. And some of them are going to be huge. There's also virtual console games to be released. There's going to be 3 GameCube games. I've been hearing it's going to be Smash Brothers Melee, Luigi's Mansion, and Super Mario Sunshine. Don't know how true that is. I didn't hear that from a special source or anything. That's just going around the internet. Possibly. Sounds about right. Those are probably the ones that should be coming out. Super Mario Sunshine hasn't been around for a long time. You'd have to have the GameCube to play that. And Luigi's Mansion 2, Smash Bros. All 3 of those are games that haven't been like remastered or re-released on other systems. So those are 3 really big ones to put out. And man, I would like to play Luigi's Mansion again. After that beautiful Breath of the Wild trailer that they ended on, it was a perfect way to end it. Watch this trailer. It's beautiful. It's like looking at a trailer for a beautiful anime film you've been waiting to see, and you watch and you're like, wow. Gorgeous. Brings a tear to the eye. But after that, they ended on such a high note. I was excited for a long time. I had to work at 3:30 in the morning, but I didn't go to sleep till like 1:30 or 2. I probably slept like an hour. Also, I was up like trying to pre-order because then I found out pre-orders are up on all these websites, and I'm like like going through these websites trying to find the pre-orders, and I finally got one. I pre-ordered from Best Buy. I pre-ordered the Neon console. We're really happy to have gotten my pre-order in. As I said, I was trying to get the special edition of Legend of Zelda. I couldn't. If any of you guys hear of them coming up, or hit a brother up, let me know. I definitely want one of those. The next day at the Treehouse, they showed more games. They played these games a lot more. They showed that ARMS game. I already explained that. They showed more of that 1-2 switch game. Splatoon. Snipper Clips is like, I've heard it's $20. It's like a little indie game kind of thing. It's a cute game. Looks pretty fun. You work with another person and clip pieces off of each other to fit into shapes. $20 is not bad. It looks like a kind of a fun game. I wouldn't be against getting it. It looks like a fun game to play if you have somebody to come over and play with you. And then I forgot to mention this, but in the presentation, EA Sports had someone come on, and it lasted a while. It was really boring. It was just a guy talking about FIFA. They didn't even have anything to show about it, but just talking about how they're bringing FIFA. That could have been super short. That's where I was talking before about they focused on things for too long. This guy could have just came out and been like, hey, we're happy to announce we're going to bring you FIFA. And that's the end of that. There was no reason for him to be up there for that long and talk about naming his son Luigi because he's a big Luigi fan or something. Useless. Especially for us North Americans, FIFA is not that big here. It's bigger in Europe. But I guess Nintendo historically has not sold well in Europe, so it's pretty big for them to get FIFA on their systems. And it was an international. It was filmed in Tokyo, so it was an international presentation. It was for everyone. So I guess they were trying to appeal to everyone, so they gave EA a set amount of time to appeal to the Europeans. Another launch title is Super Bomberman R. I've always been a Bomberman fan. Those games are fun to play multiplayer. Again, another fun multiplayer game. Um, it's Bomberman. It's but like 3D graphic Bomberman. It looked like there was a story mode too, but I think it's like up to 8 player Bomberman. It looks pretty cool. If it's not too expensive, I'd be down to get that too. But that's really not a game I would go $60 off. Um, Minecraft, pretty obvious. Don't need to explain that. NBA 2K18, basketball. Nah, don't really care. Street Fighter 2 Ultra, the final challengers. I'm not sure, but I think this was released on other systems already as a different version. But this one adds 2 new characters, which aren't really new characters. It's like Evil Ryu and Violent Ken. It's just Ryu and Ken, maybe a little more powerful. Maybe they play a little different. They look pretty much the same, just different color palette. Not that big of a difference. I don't like the graphics of this game. There's like an HD reworked graphics to it. It looks kind of cheap to me. It looks like an old early 2000s Flash cartoon. They looked horrible. Remember those old Flash like webtoons and shit? Horrible looking. I don't like it. It's terrible. I think they could have done way better on making it look nice. And I think that's what the other version looks like. What's cool about the Switch version now is that you can switch it back to the classic graphics, which is cool. That I would probably play it with the classic graphics all the time. Might possibly get this game. It's one to think about. I played the hell out of Street Fighter 2. I don't know if I want to go back to Street Fighter 2 and still play that a lot or spend money on it and play it a lot. Just Dance, who cares? Has Been Heroes. It seems more like a mobile game. It didn't really interest me too much. I'm not going to go into it that much. And that's about it. There's a couple of other games that have been announced for the lineup. Lots of people talking about how the lineup is weak for this launch. Worst launch ever. Now there's maybe not like a huge amount more games, but there's more games going to be announced. Please wait. You got maybe like 3.5 weeks to wait. So give us some time. More games are going to be announced. Virtual console games. I wouldn't be surprised. My predictions. I do have sources telling me that these games are coming out that are going to be announced, but they wouldn't tell me which games. So these are just my predictions. Nobody gave me any ideas of what they are. I think Mother 3 is going to be announced, which I would be so happy for. I hope so. If not, it will be coming eventually. Those 3 GameCube games I said before, those sound about right. I think that's right. I remember there was a Pikmin game in the works a couple years ago. Miyamoto said that there was going to be a new Pikmin. I think it was supposed to come out on the Wii U, but then I think it got switched to the Switch. Pun, possibly. I didn't mean to. But I think that's probably going to get announced. Not sure if it's going to be a launch title. Not sure if it's going to come out later on. But that's been in the works for a while. I remember him saying it was going to get pushed back. So I'm thinking maybe that's why it's not going to be a launch title. Maybe it will. I think it got pushed back to focus on Mario or something. But when he talked about it, he said it was pretty much complete. So I'm thinking maybe it is a launch title or close to launch, within the launch window. Any other big franchises? Man, it's like there's a possibility, and I think so, especially since I've been being told that there's some big announcements coming and stuff that like people will be really excited about. But it's like they have so many huge Nintendo franchise games in this first year. How are they going to top this next year? Next year it's going to be like, what games are they going to put out? We're going to have to just buy the games from the first year that we couldn't purchase because there was too many of them. I'm hoping for Metroid next year. I don't know if there's a Metroid announced this year. That would be fucking insane. Can you imagine Metroid came out this year? I really doubt it, though. I don't think Metroid is coming out this year. I would like to have it come out next year. The time it took, it's kind of like, if you think about it traditionally, the time it took from Super Metroid till the time that Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion came out was, I don't remember how many years, but it's the same amount of years as Other M till next year. So it'd be the perfect amount of time, would totally make sense, would go with like Nintendo timeline to have Metroid come out next year. Metroid did skip a console. It was in Nintendo. It was on Super Nintendo. It skipped to Nintendo 64. Then we had two on the Wii, and we had one on. No, yeah. We had game two on the GameCube, two on the Wii, and now it skipped a console with the Wii U. So Switch is the perfect console to bring Metroid back to its former glory. It needs to come back. Personally, I'd prefer a whole new Metroid series, but I wouldn't mind going back to Prime. I know Federation Force hinted the ending teased towards there being a next installment to Prime. Wouldn't mind that. I really love the Prime series, but like I always felt that the three Prime series was the whole story and that it ended. Federation Force brought it back, so I guess we will be getting most likely be getting a Prime 4, even though I'd like to see a whole new series. I also hope they bring another 2D installment. That'd be awesome too. So my final thoughts, the Switch looks awesome. I'm super excited for it. I'm so happy I got it pre-ordered because I would hate to be missing out on it. Also, I've had every like Nintendo console from like launch, and this would have been the first one I didn't have from launch, and that would have kind of made me sad. One thing I forgot was they showed off two new amiibos for the Breath of the Wild, and there's the Bokoblin one. I want that so bad. That Bokoblin looks so cool. And then there's a Zelda one, which looks really cool too. But I'm most souped about the Bokoblin out of all of them. I want that Bokoblin so bad. I gotta pre-order that soon. But my final thoughts on the Switch is that it's awesome. It looks really fun. I don't think $300 is too much. I think it's fair. Sucks to pay for online, but it's understandable. The extra, I know people are like, oh, gimmicks is gonna fail and this and that. I don't mind those gimmicks. I've always liked Nintendo's gimmicks myself. They've always brought something different to the games and a little kind of fun. The other complaint is that it's not as powerful as the other systems. Well, you're not going to get that on a system that fits on your hand that you can carry around with you wherever you go. You're not going to get that. If you want them to make something like that, why not just play PlayStation too? I mean, yeah, you want your PlayStation Nintendo games. It doesn't work that way. You're going to have to get both if you want both. But it looks like Nintendo is getting better third-party support now. If this system sells well, don't doubt that they'll get a lot more third-party support. It was also revealed Steep was coming out. Steep is a pretty powerful game. If it's running that, it probably can handle a good amount at least. It runs Unreal Engine 4, so I mean it can play some good games. Maybe not the toppest of the top notch, but good enough. And personally, I'd prefer exclusive games. I mean, if they sell enough, companies will be willing to make exclusive games for them, or at least their own versions of AAA games, which I think would be cool too. But yeah, hold your horses on the lineup. There's a lot more coming. There's more to be announced. Give it some time. But the lineup is even pretty perfect for me. Like I said before, you got Breath of the Wild, Splatoon, Mario Kart, Splatoon, Mario, and in between there somewhere Xenoblade 2 and Dragon Quest games. Fantastic. I'm sold. I know a lot of people aren't, but that's towards my tastes. I'm sold. What do you guys think? I know a lot of people don't like it. I know a lot of people are excited for it. They're not selling at a loss, so I think even if it sells as good as good or as bad as the Wii U, they're still gonna be profiting more than they did with the Wii U, and they did profit off the Wii U. So people are like, "Oh, Nintendo's doomed." This happens every time. Nintendo's not doomed. They'll sell enough Switches to profit and be able to make another console, even if it doesn't do good. But I think this one will do good. Maybe not. It's not going to top the other systems, but it's going to do well enough to warrant them, to make profit and to warrant them make another console. What do you guys think? Do you think Switch looks cool? Do you think it's stupid? Do you think, another crappy gimmick? Or do you think like, you're in the middle, you got to wait to see more, which there will be more. Don't jump to conclusions that's like the whole lineup. Yeah, let me know, man. I'm super excited for this. I'm a huge Nintendo fan, so it happens. So, yeah, you can call me fanboy if you want, but it's true. They just happen to make games I enjoy and systems I enjoy. I can't help that. So yeah, leave comments below. Let me know what's going on. If you like this video, what you're excited for. If you are excited for games, what you would like to see, maybe, or your hopes of what will come to the system, or maybe what third-party games you would like, um, or just any general questions and comments. Leave them below. All right. Thanks. Peace out, guys.